Breaking news. A creature has been spotted roaming in the New York City metropolitan area. It is unknown what this creature is, but most reports detail the creature as a tall humanoid figure with abnormally long arms and legs and distorted facial features. It does not fit the profile of any known creatures to scientists. This creature has been confirmed to have hostile intentions, and there are increased reports of missing persons and mauled corpses across New York City, likely due to this anomaly. It is also worth noting that everyone who filed the reports was brutally murdered shortly after they made the reports. It is unknown if there is any connection, but for now, if you think you see the creature, do not look at its face, as you may die. The United States government and the SCP are working to solve this.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government in conjunction with a classified entity. Approximately 10 minutes ago, reports of a humanoid figure with distorted facial features as well as a seemingly damaged torso and abnormally elongated limbs started coming in. The undisclosed organization has kept tabs on this creature, and knows how to deal with it. They have also clarified that this creature is extremely dangerous and will kill you if you look at its face. If you see a humanoid figure near you, or any faces on a screen or on a picture, do not look at it and hide immediately without making any noise or doing anything that would make yourself heard or seen. If you look at its face, it will know, and it will become enraged before hunting you down and brutally killing you. After you look at its face, there will be nothing you can do to stop your death. Avoid looking at pictures or mirrors, or anything with a face on it. Updates will be provided later.
Obliged to keep staring at your television. Please keep staring at your screen and listen closely. You will forget everything. Do not worry about what is happening. Longing. Rusted. 17. Dave.
They have gotten away with this for far too long. History has been made with these anomalies time and time again, yet they keep erasing it. Blood is on their hands, and they shall pay for all those they have killed. A revolution shall commence.
This is CNN with a special report. A strange incident has occurred in New York City which has resulted in the deaths of over 1,000 people. These people were killed because they looked at images of the face of an unidentified humanoid life form, one that appeared to have distorted facial features. It is unknown how the being immediately figured out that their face was being looked at, but once they did, they went into a rage-like state and hunted down the person that looked at the image, and then they killed them. After this incident in New York City, broadcasts across the area were seemingly hijacked, first displaying a mysterious broadcast instructing persons to stare at their televisions and listen as certain words were read. This suddenly stopped soon after it started. After this, a figure dubbed the Revolutionist warned citizens of a conspiracy, that there was a hidden organization pulling the strings on every world government, one that was responsible for mass bloodshed. They ended their message with, "A revolution shall commence."
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Recently, a broadcast in New York City was hijacked and prompted misinformation and false conspiracy theories to spread widely online. The broadcast, along with the Revolutionist, is a confirmed hoax. Please do not attempt to spread more misinformation relating to it. Doing so may result in fines or possibly even detainment. If you see misinformation spreading, online or physically, do not hesitate to notify your local authorities. The FBI is also currently trying to identify the suspect behind the Revolutionist broadcasts so they can take them into custody. Currently, there are no major clues that point towards the identity of the suspect. If you have any information that may be helpful in the FBI search for this fugitive, please notify your local authorities or submit an anonymous tip to the FBI. Any information is greatly appreciated. Thank you for cooperating with your government.
This message is being related to direct request of the Overseer Command. We are currently facing one of the biggest threats to our secrecy and our integrity. An unknown person, or group, somehow managed to bypass amnestic procedure, and as a result, the entire world knows what happened. At this time, there is no concrete evidence that the Foundation exists, but conspiracy theories about the Foundation are piling up online and blowing up in popularity. We do not know who this revolutionist figure is. For all we know, it could be a group of people working together to bring us down. We are currently working to figure out who it may be, so we can exterminate the threat. World leaders are being briefed on this situation. All sites are now entering the code red lockdown.
Houston, now is the time to do your part in our cause. Ensure that your corrupt leaders pay for associating with the Foundation. We can only do this in greater numbers. And soon enough, the Foundation will topple, and we will all be free.
The
following message is transmitted at the request of the Harris County Sheriff's Office in conjunction with the Texas State Police. There have been isolated reports of supporters of the revolutionist conspiracy theory committing acts of violence across Houston. There is also still a considerable amount of misinformation related to the revolutionist spreading online. As mentioned before, the revolutionist is a complete hoax, and spreading misinformation to perpetuate the theory may result in legal prosecution if you are identified. The reports of violence do not seem to be concentrated in any part of the city, but it is strongly recommended that you remain indoors at this time to stay as safe as possible. If you partake in the acts of violence along with the revolutionist supporters, you will be detained and possibly killed if you pose enough of a threat to civil safety. If this threat escalates, another alert will be broadcast over radio and television stations in Harris County. Stay tuned to local media outlets or internet sources for more information.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the United States government in conjunction with various state governments. Throughout the course of the evening and into the night, massive riots have broken out in major cities from supporters of the entity known as the Revolutionist. This figure is responsible for spreading numerous conspiracy theories online across the United States. These theories are completely false, and there is no element of truth whatsoever in them. To curb these mass riots in cities as well as the spread of misinformation, the United States is now under martial law. Effective immediately, numerous temporary protective laws and restrictions will go into effect across the entire mainland United States. To stop the riots, a curfew is now in effect. This curfew is mandatory, and will last from 9 p.m. to 7 am in all respective time zones. Furthermore, spreading misinformation relating to this is now considered a felony, and if you are caught doing so, you may be fined or possibly even jailed. If you actively participate in the acts of violence and rioting currently happening across the country, you will be subject to a minimum of 15 years in prison. If you present yourself as a threat to law enforcement, you may be killed. A manhunt is currently taking place for the individual or group behind the Revolutionist. If you have any information on who is behind the Revolutionist, contact authorities immediately. Do not withhold this info. If you do, you will be considered an accomplice, and you will be subject to severe legal punishment. Thank you for your cooperation.
This is an emergency bulletin being transmitted to all citizens of the UK at the request of Her Majesty's government. Riots have started occurring, particularly in large metropolitan areas such as London. The rioters are mainly supporters of an American internet conspiracy theory that has already caused major riots and violence in American cities. These persons are led by a figure known as the Revolutionist, who is responsible for the creation of these dangerous conspiracy theories. Broadcast interference from this figure has recently been reported in certain areas of the UK. Because the Revolutionist has managed to spread intercontinentally, it is now assumed that it is run by a group of people rather than a singular individual. There is possibly a network of these people across the globe ready to strike at any given moment. A hunt for any officials connected with the revolutionists has begun in the UK, and we are working with other governments to try and track them down. Remember, the conspiracy theories, particularly the ones relating to the non-existent SCP Foundation, are false in every way. It is advised that residents remain indoors for the time being due to the spike in violence from revolutionist supporters. More updates will be provided later if necessary.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Canadian government. This is a bulletin for the entire country, prompted by concerning events unfolding across the world. Please be aware of misinformation spreading online. A disinformation campaign has recently been spreading false conspiracy theories relating to a non-existent organization that studies supernatural phenomena. These theories exploded in popularity in the United States and are beginning to spread across the globe. Some supporters of these theories have committed acts of violence and started riots. There have been no reports of mass violence in Canadian cities yet, but please be aware that may change in the coming hours or days. Police have been authorized to use full force in the event that mass riots do break out. Be a law-abiding citizen and do not participate in any criminal activities. Should this threat become out of control, the Canadian government will instate lockdowns and martial law to restore order. The SCP Foundation is not real, and it never has been. If you see misinformation being spread, report it to the authorities. Remain alert and be safe.
Le message suivant est transmis à la demande du gouvernement canadien. Ceci est un bulletin pour tout le pays, suscité par des événements préoccupants qui se déroulent à travers le monde. Soyez conscients de la diffusion d'informations erronées en ligne. Une campagne de désinformation a récemment diffusé de fausses théories du complot concernant une organisation inexistante qui étudie les phénomènes surnaturels. Ces théories ont explosé en popularité aux États-Unis et commencent à se répandre dans le monde entier. Certains partisans de ces théories ont commis des actes de violence et déclenché des émeutes. Aucun cas de violence de masse n'a encore été signalé dans les villes canadiennes, mais sachez que cela pourrait changer dans les heures ou les jours à venir. La police a été autorisée à user de toute sa force en cas d'émeute de masse. Soyez un citoyen respectueux des lois et ne participez à aucune activité criminelle. Si cette menace devient incontrôlable, le gouvernement canadien instaurera des verrouillages et la loi martiale pour rétablir l'ordre. La fondation SCP n'est pas réelle et ne l'a jamais été. Si vous constatez que des informations erronées se répandent, signalez-les aux autorités. Restez vigilants et soyez prudents.
This is a message from the O5 Command. Due to recent circumstances out of our control, a decision has been made to dissolve the SCP Foundation. The revolutionist has effectively rallied up the global population and turned them against us. The normal solution to this type of situation would be the use of amnestics to wipe out any memories of the recent events, but due to the revolutionists' apparent ability to bypass amnestics, it was determined that the regular protocol was an extremely dangerous decision. The Foundation's end is inevitable. All employees of the Foundation are now relieved of their duties. D-class personnel will be transported back to regular civilian prisons to finish their sentences. A broadcast will be sent out to all major news organizations in the world to notify the global populace of our decision to disband the Foundation. In time, humanity will learn that they needed us to protect them, once the anomalies we kept are released into society. The dissolution will begin immediately after this message ceases.
Welcome back to CNN. We are continuing our coverage of the revolutionist phenomenon, which has suddenly gone global after taking America by storm. The revolutionist conspiracy theories have inspired a frightening amount of violence, particularly in the United States, but violence and riots are beginning to spike in other countries too, notably places like the United Kingdom and Germany. The world is split on whether
This is a message to the entire global population. All major news networks across the world are to broadcast this message live. For those currently unaware, we represent the group known as the SCP Foundation. We have been the subject of many conspiracy theories after we slipped up in the incident in New York City recently. Due to increasing demand for us to shut down, the group that holds all authority over the Foundation has made an executive decision to permanently dissolve the organization. We will no longer have a role in any domestic or international affairs. We will no longer have an influence on anything that goes on in the world. We will cease functioning. Our study of anomalous occurrences and creatures will stop. This is what a majority of humanity wanted. Thank you for listening. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the United States government. With the dissolution of the SCP Foundation, all anomalies they had in their custody, including ones with more hostile tendencies, were released from containment and are now roaming in society. Reports of hostile anomalies causing destruction have already come in across the United States. So far, at least 212,000 people have died from these anomalies. Hostile anomalies have been reported near almost every major city in the United States, but particularly those in or near the cities of Los Angeles, Las Vegas, or San Diego should take extra precautions to ensure the best possible chance of survival. All citizens of the United States should remain indoors at this time and prepare to take drastic measures for survival purposes. Normal programming has ceased until further notice. This broadcast will now silence for your safety. We interrupt emergency programming to bring you this message. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. In the past few days, anomalies previously kept in check by the now-defunct SCP Foundation have been causing mayhem across the entire world.
especially in the United States. It is absolutely horrifying to see these creatures wreaking havoc across our beautiful planet. One thing is clear to us. The anomalies cannot be allowed to just roam free in society, otherwise the damage would be catastrophic and perpetual. In order to protect civilization, the United States government has formed a new department in the federal government. This department is called the Department of Anomalies, and it will act as the successor to the SCP Foundation. We will secure, contain, and protect, just like our predecessors did. However, we promise to be more open with the general public. We will keep no secrets. Our only mission is to protect humanity. Help is on the way. Thank you for listening.